Hello, welcome to 25 Cents, our video game podcast. I'm Chris.
And I'm Nick. Each episode will be making the rounds through our four corners: console, PC, Apple, and tabletop, with a focus on games that are great to play if you've got kids.
You can find us wherever you listen to podcasts or on the web at Goodstuff.network. All right, we missed the timing on that one, so hopefully that means a great episode is in store. Hey, Nick, welcome.
Yeah,
welcome back.
if we're starting off rough, hey Chris, let's not worry about the start. Let's just get going. Let's get into it.
Console corner.
Console corner. What's up first? So there was a review of NBA 2K22. Now I know you're into the NHL series of games, but apparently this one is even more into the microtransaction EA sports hell of these kind of games. It's a gotcha game disguised as a sports game, according to at least the Kotaku review. So have you played any of these? Have you looked at any of these?
Well, I'll say in EA Sports defense, not that the massive corporation that is EA Sports needs defending, but this is actually NBA 2K, which is I forget which brand. It's not EA Sports. It's
oh, you're right.
Other one.
I got it. It's the other one.
Yeah, I'm drawing a blank
See,
right now.
that just shows the EA reputation. I assumed it was the other guy.
But at any rate, I haven't played this for console. We tried which one is it? NBA 2K1 maybe is on. 2K21 is on Apple Arcade right now, and we'll get into that.
And there is a 2K22 Arcade Edition coming as well, but it's different from this game.
Yeah, so I'm assuming they'll have lots of microtransactions, but at least you won't have to pay because it'll be on Arcade.
Right.
But this is like a very disappointing. I really hope this gets just downvoted to hell, because to have like what is not in the purity of sports by any means, but what is a simple game idea of just emulate what we see on TV or on the basketball court or the hockey arena or the football gridiron, any of those things. Just do that. We don't need microtransactions to up my players' abilities and all that kind of stuff. Just let us play the basketball game or the sports ball game, whichever one it is. That's my review.
Yeah. Well, I'll be interested to see, right? Because like the idea of why you want the new season of the sports game every year is, hey, we want the latest players, we want the latest, team updates, coach updates, like all of that stuff in the simulation side of things. You can't, in theory, you could just patch the same game engine year over year, but obviously they want to sell a new game every year. But then, yeah, why does it have to come along with these mechanics that are more about extracting money from the whales, the diehard fans of the game series, instead of just making a really great simulation experience?
Yeah.
I don't know. Capitalism, I guess.
What else? Yeah, I think even as a parent, just thinking like if my kid is like already pestering me for like Fortnite skin updates and things like that, I guess maybe then you're just kind of used to it. Like, oh, this is the world we live in. I guess. Oh well, we'll pay $5 so they can have Jordan's '93 jersey or whatever. Like, don't quote me on the validity of that year and jersey, but
right.
If they're used to that idea with Fortnite already, then what's another game, I guess, like that? And it's just kind of, maybe that's the way we're headed with all these big games, which sucks. Back in my day.
I mean, that's definitely even just the individual game purchase to what you alluded to is like a conversation in our household. It's like, well, we have these games already. We have Arcade. Would you be okay not getting that particular game that you saw promoted in the App Store that's $5 plus in-app purchases when we have Grindstone at home, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I think that'll be interesting for you to navigate as like for us too. It happened when our kids got a little older. Peer pressure becomes more of a thing in terms of what other people are doing at their house. You might hear about it on the playground of like they're playing soccer at home, or they're like, I want to go play soccer. But then suddenly it flips to like the movies they watch, the games they play, and the multiplayer angle over online, especially even in pandemic times now, right? Where you can actually still play with your friends and kind of that connecting point through whatever it is. Nintendo's a horrible way to connect with friends, but the Xboxes and the PlayStations and even online, PC, whatever of the world. Suddenly then Fortnite or whatever the game will be is really attractive because you could it's like hanging out with your friends at the playground, except you're just running around in Fortnite. So,
and so you put it on the video, but Kenny, our Good Stuff a fellow host of the morning show is listening to the live stream and noted that 2K discounts these games after launch because they make up all their margins with microtransactions. So I mean, it's kind of part of the business model. It's like printers and toner, I guess, right?
Yeah.
These incredibly expensive to make modern 3D games, maybe a more realistic price up front if you didn't have all that stuff built in is like, oh, this is actually $100 of value, $150 of value, but the no one's going to pay that up front. So hiding the value through microtransactions, where yeah, your play of the game is subsidized by people putting hundreds and hundreds of dollars into it, and potentially with like gambling type addiction
Yeah.
to adding these things is interesting. And it seems like something that's going to have a regulatory hammer come down on it at some point, right?
Yeah.
You're gonna the ESRB is gonna have to say E for everyone, microtransaction free or whatever.
E for everyone, but the microtransactions are for 16 plus
Yeah.
or something, and like
No,
because that's like
no added sugar.
exactly. We have definitely been subsidized. Our Fortnite gameplay over the last however long it's been now, 3 years probably at least, has been definitely subsidized by some whales. So thank you, whales out there, for paying for that. Moving on to Nintendo Direct happened last week. I sort of happened to watch it while I was working and took a few notes, but a bunch of new games announcements and things that are maybe of interest to you. So definitely check that out. But a few things that we picked out: the N64/Sega Genesis is coming to Nintendo Online, so the emulation mode basically, and
Mm-hmm.
which is piqued my interest a lot because Sega Genesis was actually the first console I got that was my own. Well, I had an Atari before that, I guess, but way back in the day. But first real console, I guess, when all my friends had Nintendo, and so it's kind of weird now having like I was the weirdo with the Sega Genesis back then,
Mm-hmm.
and now Sega Genesis is on the Nintendo. And N64 is another platform that I never actually owned or played a lot of, other than at friends' houses. And so it's very tempting. Except they kind of alluded to, I don't know, I can't remember if they spelled it out, but it's going to be hidden behind another paywall upgrade beyond just the regular Nintendo Online purchase price, monthly or annual fee that you're paying. So is that something that you're going to be like dropping cash for?
Well, so looking at the announced game list, the answer is probably not. So N64 was probably my peak console gameplay with friends. Like I didn't have that console, but pretty much all my friends were in the Nintendo world. Some of them had Super Nintendo, but generally in terms of going over to friends' houses and playing, it was N64, especially because we could do 4-player Mario Kart and later 4-player GoldenEye, and that was just like one of our primary activities. If we were hanging out in kind of late middle school, early high school. So that's pretty appealing. I think the other interesting thing is they're selling the replica controllers again.
Yeah.
But now you can get that N64 form factor or the Sega Genesis form factor. And then for my wife, I think because her older brother is about your age in terms of like our relative gap, he was a Genesis kid, so she played on her older brother's Genesis
Mm.
a lot, and so like Sonic and Sega is definitely her primary console experience as a kid. So that makes it definitely more tempting for our household. At the same time, we've had Nintendo Online for almost a year, and we've barely played any of the NES and SNES games. There's a few here and there, and it's been fun, but it has not been our primary. And I guess that's because it's like it kind of feels like it's a TV thing and not a portable thing, even though we can undock the Switch. So yeah, I don't know. It's interesting, and I think I'll have to see what the price is to make a decision if we would actually pick it up.
Yeah, that's exactly the thing that with the pricing. It kind of just soured me on the idea of it. And I'm wondering now, like even just realizing that
Right.
there is a game that's out already, has been out for a while, Sega Genesis Classics for the Switch and other platforms. So you could buy these for $30, like a whole bunch of them. And obviously,
Mm-hmm.
there's something please or interesting about having it on a online thing. You just download it, play it on the cloud or whatever. You don't have to carry around a console or a cartridge. But just for my own like brain to like trick my brain back into reality is like this has been available actually for a while at $40 Canadian right now. Let's say on Amazon. I haven't bought it, so I really am not all that motivated really by the idea. But yeah, you dangle the Genesis controller in front of me and thinking about like introducing my kids to that for the first time. The controller plus
Mm-hmm.
these games that I kind of grew up on. There's definitely a nostalgia trigger there. But like right now in Canada, for the family membership for Nintendo Online is $45 a month or $45 a year. Sorry, and so I mean, if they said it was like going to be $55, well, I might consider that. But if I have a feeling they're kind of prepping us for it to be more, just because they
Yeah.
didn't say, and so
Yeah, I kind of wonder if the way they'll do it is you can basically say like, all right, I want Nintendo Online and I want NES flavor. I want Sega flavor, right? And
right
so they'll all be the same price, but you only get one
one,
or two of the emulated platforms. And
yeah,
maybe that's the right way to do it because, do you really need the full library of every Nintendo console ever made? Maybe not. Um,
yeah. The
yeah,
other
it
updates
sounds interesting.
The other updates that are coming, Metroid Dread is a series that both you and I had never really played too far, but is a new game that's coming. And anytime there's a new version of a game, whether it's Mario, Zelda, Metroid,
Hmm.
Mario Party,
Hmm.
etc., like the sort of classic Nintendo characters and series, I'm always tempted to try them. I was like, okay, I'll try it on Switch now and see how it goes. And because there's no doubt they're very popular, and so it'd be fun to give it a try. But we'll see when that comes. And then also Animal Crossing gets an update this fall, so we'll see if people kind of go back into fourth wave Animal Crossing. I don't know.
Yeah, well, yeah, we still have the pandemic factor that I think helped Animal Crossing's behavior or popularity early last year is still pretty present. So yeah, it
Yeah,
might help bring people back to the game.
yeah,
Yeah, and for Metroid, I think I played the first Metroid Prime on my roommate's GameCube, but otherwise have not really explored the series. So not one that I'm like uh, itching to get back into. But if it gets really good reviews, I would certainly consider it.
yeah. Definitely. I think I'll request it. Is that the word I'm looking? Yes, request it from the library at least here locally, so we can get in the queue for that with all the other 12-year-olds who are getting it over from the
Yes.
library. The other funny thing that kind of obviously took the internet by storm was the announcement of the Mario Brothers movie that's coming in Christmas next year, 2022, and then announcing the voice cast, and then Chris Pratt just getting dragged all over the internet for being selected as the voice of Mario, which yeah feels all sorts of weird and whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's several reasons why people are angry about Chris Pratt. I mean, he's fine in like the Lego Movie 1 and 2 as the main character,
Yeah,
and those are movies that we've rewatched a couple times, and he's pretty good in those. But yeah, I mean, it just my general opinion is hire voice actors like celebrity actors are not going to be as good as just like these career voice folks like a Jim Cummings or um, who's another one that's just done like everything. Anyway, the ones that have like 20 animated TV credits a year plus, right?
mm-hmm.
Because they can just do any voice. And the other thing that's a little weird is they specifically mention Charles Martinet, who is the voice of all of Mario in all the modern games, has a cameo
Yeah.
but isn't Mario. Like, okay,
It feels like you're misreading your fan base even like, and like the idea that I feel like the sort of what's the word, like the way the equation for it should be, if celebrity matches character perfectly, then go with celebrity, else go with voice actor who can do the voice way better. And in this case, your fandom, your audience, your people who are handing over your money are loving Charles Martinet as the voice of Mario. So
yeah.
why wouldn't
I,
you?
I mean, I guess the answer is they're trying to actually make a movie that has an appeal to everyone, and so that's where that celebrity hook will get folks in the door. Kind of like with the Sonic movie, which had its own internet rage fest a few years ago, and,
Yeah.
and turned out pretty good with some celebrity voices. So
Yeah.
um, I think the only thing the internet wasn't mad about was Jack Black as Bowser. Everyone seemed pretty happy about that one.
Yeah, there's no, I don't know what ethnicity Bowser is supposed to be or whatever, wherever he comes from exactly, but it definitely seems to be like Jack Black fits. We all agree. That's gets a
Yeah,
stamp of
that
approval.
was
So.
that was pretty funny. All right, should we pull over to PC Corner?
Yes, that's my.
So I need help, Chris.
Uh-oh.
I've got a binder full of old game CD-ROMs, and I just need to say goodbye to them. I literally cannot play them on any current device I have. Why do I still have them? Help me.
Oh, I was gonna say somewhere in here. I think my friend borrowed it. I have actually the Apple's Super Drive. I bought it for whatever reason, like for one purpose probably, and then it sat in the drawer for years. And but not that it would help you in this situation because you still can't
Yeah.
play them. I'm
No,
sure.
I have a super drive, but like I have a Civilization 3 disc And it definitely doesn't even work on Intel Macs, let alone an M1
Yeah.
Mac. And it's I do have a full PowerPC plus System 9 emulator, but these are actually games from the early Mac OS 10 era that were like they were ports by Aspire or MacPlay or one of
Right.
those companies, and so no support anymore, no patches. Yeah, I've got some Civilization, I've got Elite Force, Star Trek Elite Force, which is the Quake 3 based shooter, I think,
Yeah.
or Quake engine anyway.
Yeah.
Um, uh, yeah, so I don't know why I still have these. And the other funny thing is a lot of them, right? You can get the PC version on like good old games for less than $5.
Right.
Although I don't have a PC to play on either. But so yeah, it's like I have this idea. It's like, oh, this was a favorite game. Why obviously I need to like archive it and have access to it like a favorite book, but it's unlike a book. The platforms have changed substantially over the years. So why do I still have this?
I
I
think
don't know.
the angle that I can go on is like if you can figure out a way to like I don't know hit up Pinterest, find some sort of creative way to like display the disc itself in your office or
Hmm.
whatever as a thing. That to me is like interesting, but I know it's painful throwing out like especially when there's like just going like we said earlier with Sega Genesis, like nostalgia attached to it. That it's like a
Hmm.
bit of your past. It's like throwing out an old, the old ball glove that you used to play with your dad or whatever.
Yeah.
Those kinds of things. And I feel like that's a similar thing for video game nerds like us. And so, but I know it's it's time to move on, Nick. Don't make us
Yeah.
have an
Yeah.
intervention. Don't make us
I
come down
think
to
I think you're
Seattle.
right. I've these are the last holdouts. Like I'd managed to generally keep these things cleared out over the years. I think we talked about Myst coming out again in previous episodes. I did kind of regret when I think I sold my copy of Myst to the like used Mac store in exchange for like MechWarrior 3 or something
Nice.
back in the 90s.
Not a bad trade.
But yeah,
That's
so
not a bad.
yeah, I mean, I got some enjoyment out of it, but
Yeah.
would I have wanted to keep that original Mist pack? I don't know. But yeah, again, it's like why have it? And it does point though to a general issue where the trade off that like Apple versus Microsoft have made on the PC platform, right? So like Microsoft has some of these backwards compatibility pain points. They're on Intel forever, but like DirectX going back several versions is still supported.
Yeah.
Or you can even drop into the DOS layer in some cases for really old games, and it all still works on the same modern OS, modern computer. And on the Mac side, we're in our um, you know, I guess depending on how you count, what fourth major architectural transition over the history of the Mac, and and even within that, like the library and OS level support has changed so much that there's just no stability, which then goes to for developers, like why am I going to commit to a platform where every 2 years my
Yeah.
big game is just going to stop working unless I put out a huge patch?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. The I saw you made a note here. I'm just moving on quickly, but Star Wars Squadrons is on Prime Gaming Loot, right? That's like Amazon Prime's free games for a
Yeah,
month
so
or whatever.
so if you have Amazon Prime, there'll be different stuff that'll drop on a weekly or monthly basis, and it'll be like game codes. In this case, so EA Star Wars Squadrons, it was an EA Origin code. So now I have the game in my Origin library, and as previously alluded, no way to play it, but I have it. It's
Exactly.
mine. It's a little item, a little icon in a list. So it was free. Um,
I'll just note it's US only, so I got kind of excited because I wanted to try it out, and if it's free, I'll try it out in Windows like boot camp mode. But
sure.
it's US only, unfortunately. So that's
Yeah.
one drawback.
I have heard, I saw an article recently that I guess there are some sort of multiplayer balance issues with the game, but there's no plan to patch them because the development team has moved on, or whatever studio EA contracted with kind of finished the work and is gone, right? Like they're
Right.
not actively. So that the 5-on-5 part of the game that was one of the big selling points on top of the VR features is sort of unfortunately right out. It's not going to have that staying power like the original X-wing games.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
All right, we got to
So
keep
should we go over
moving.
to Apple Corner?
Yeah,
Yeah.
there we go. The bike sound, the bicycle of the mind. Um,
Yep. Very very Jobsian on
yeah,
the 10th. I think it's the 10th anniversary of his death,
yeah,
or
yeah,
was.
yeah. This week or whatever. So at some point this week, anyways. Just given by
Mm.
all the memorial stuff. I still remember the day pulling into my driveway of like hearing the news that he died. It kind of felt like one of those guys. I tweeted this, but like one of those guys who's just going to live forever in his role. Like the obviously I didn't know him at all, so it doesn't affect me on that deeper level, but
Right.
just one of those things. But the Apple event that happened last week, just some notes in terms of follow up you had for Star Wars hunters that
Yeah,
you
I think
missed.
yeah, so I think we had said, oh, there wasn't any game content, and I'd forgotten about they had focused on the Star Wars Hunters game that was coming, which again had it's this arena battle thing, and it has very microtransaction feel to it. And then also there's a video linked in our show notes that's talking about how the iPad Mini is a great game platform, which is interesting. Um,
Yeah, I watched
and
this
it
one.
seems like a form factor that we'd like.
Yeah, it is interesting. I watched the review that we linked to. Byte Review is sort of where I saw it. I can't remember where it was linked from, but and the main knock against it is just that the iPad Mini is so expensive, like compared to a
Yeah,
console. Obviously, you could buy a Switch or anything else for less. And so, whether it's as fun as it is to play some of these games, and they go through like PUBG and Call of Duty, and like games that if you were just looking at the names, you'd think, oh, that's like regular PC almost gaming platform, but yeah, it still is quite a bit more expensive. So if you've got
yeah,
good justification for it for other reasons as well, great platform. I'm very tempted by it, but it still is, like I said, I think in the previous episode, it's just that little bit too expensive to justify as like a fun expense or a fun toy to have around.
right.
So, but yeah,
Yeah, and I think Vitici on Connected mentioned he had one of those, like kind of plug-on game controllers that works for iPhone, where you end up almost switch-like with things on either side of the screen, and the Mini actually fits the one he has.
oh yeah,
So you pull it to its full size, drop the Mini in, and now you've got a Bluetooth controller, and it basically is like a build your own Switch, except obviously iOS and Apple Arcade.
yeah.
Um, and then, yeah, speaking of Star Wars games, we're on kind of a theme this episode. So, Apple Arcade released Lego Star Wars Battles, which I've been playing a fair bit of, and as has my son. It's pretty fun. It's a lightweight mobile. They call it an RTS, but it's got some RTS elements, but you're not really. There's no base that you're building other than a few defensive towers, and there's no tech tree really. But over time, you can unlock new play fields and upgrade your units. It's another one of those arcade games that feels like maybe it was built for not arcade. There's Lego studs that you can use to upgrade units, and there's Lego crystals that you can use to unlock new units, and you earn those by doing different things. And there's daily challenges and daily free unlocks and all that stuff that's trying to like get you to keep coming back to the game, so you keep playing rounds so that there's enough of a player base that when someone picks up the game for the first time, they have someone to play, right? All that stuff to make the game sticky. But it's definitely the mobile take on it, right? Like playing around is maybe 2 to 3 minutes faster if you have an advantage. The matchmaking has been pretty good. It's based on your tier. You earn trophies as you level up, and I found that generally, I'm evenly matched, even with my units well upgraded. The folks I'm playing, it can kind of go either way. Who wins, and it depends a lot on like the timing of which units you deploy when, and did you protect your land units with air units and that sort of thing. And you get to see like all the little Star Wars characters and worlds in Lego mode, which is fun. I think the only real thing that feels missing to me, other than like kind of the weirdness of the microtransaction remnants, is that while the different levels look different, I think I've unlocked 4 so far, so I can go to like Jakku or Hoth or Endor or Geonosis. They play the same, so for balance reasons, there's 5 tower positions and 2 bases, and the layout is identical. It just looks different. So it's interesting that they went with that cosmetic only aspect. Oh, I lost your audio, Chris.
Good. Somehow I muted myself. There you go.
Oh, sorry. So I may have interrupted you without realizing it
Oh no,
earlier.
I was commenting, but you kept going, so it was good. Yeah, that's never happened to me before. He said. What was I going to say? Multiplayer. You haven't tried local multiplayer, just like online with random folks, right?
So as far as I can tell, and I actually tried to do this with my son because I mean they mask your identity because it's got that kind of Lego layer of protection on top of the Apple layer of protection.
Oh, okay.
But as far as I can tell, there was no way to match against a specific person. There's no Game Center code. In fact, it looks like their multiplayer system is not Game Center based. They rolled their own, which is another interesting thing. So a lot of the arcade games they use the Game Center matching. I would guess it's because this game is going to be available on other platforms and they
Right.
want a shared system. And Apple has not opened up Game Center to support crossplay
Yeah. Yeah.
for several obvious reasons.
Yeah.
Um,
That's too bad. But still good that you can play it. Your kids can play it, I guess, and iPad, and it looks like Apple TV supported as well, which would be kind of fun way to play it, I guess, and experience it on the bigger screen. Speaking of that, oh no, I think I talked about it last time already, so I will skip that. I was going to say I would tried a bunch of the Apple TV games, and I think that was covered in the last episode.
yeah, I need to try more games on the TV, but generally I play them on the iPhone first. And yeah, so I have not noticed. I did get my new phone. I have not noticed the ProMotion
Oh right.
features. I don't know if they're not fully enabled in games, or I think it's one of those hardware features that's actually really subtle. Like you don't realize that the game is and the scrolling is smoother unless you went back to a device
Yeah.
that doesn't have it, and then you're like, oh,
Yeah.
this is what I've been missing, right?
Yeah. The side by side comparison is lacking, or like for good reason,
Yeah,
obviously.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I tried out just in other arcade games. I tried out Castlevania Grimoire, I think is how you say it, of Souls, and just
Hmm.
very dipped my toes in. Haven't gone very much further. But I do like for a side-scrolling game. It's fun. There's a bit of a weird mechanic, and I don't know if I'm playing it wrong, but like where the one button for just like your general slash and whatever, besides your special abilities, is up in the top right, and every other sort of ability is in the bottom right. So you're kind of like having to watch where your thumb goes. But this would be another one where I think I would really like it on the Apple TV with a controller.
Right, with a controller.
Yeah, and then it would be obviously really simple as far as how you're playing it and stuff like that. But if you're, I mean, I'm sure by now if you're a Castlevania fan, you've definitely picked it up. But even if you're just like a side-scrolling kind of slasher, it's a lot of fun so far. And the story is intense in a cheesy kind of way, at least to my taste. But your mileage may
Yeah, I mean,
vary.
you're talking about a game series whose main guy was Dracula spelled backwards as Alucard, right? So I the depth there is may not be the place to look. My wife was going to try this one because she that was another one of those Sega games that she had played a lot of. Was one of the original
Yeah,
Castlevanias. Um, I forget which one exactly, but yeah. So uh, we'll have to check that one out. Probably on the TV when the kiddo is asleep.
yeah. Yeah, it has like sprite, like very small. I guess especially on the phone, but even on the TV, I'm sure they'd be pretty small. Like, but they are still like demony ghosts and goblins and whatever
Yes.
flying around. So maybe we'll have to punt the family photo library to next time discussion because I think
Yeah,
we're running
that's
short
that's
on
a
time.
that's a tech podcast topic,
Yeah,
but I think one that we've certainly keep running into. I think we talked in our WWDC episode. It's like, oh, I wish they had added this, and maybe it's
yeah,
still coming, but
yeah.
we can dive into that next time.
Quickly, in tabletop corner, you've gone back to Catan again. It looks like, or is that
Yeah,
notes
we
from
did
last time?
some. No, we did some Star Trek Catan again, and that's one of our go tos. Have you been playing much tabletop as a family again,
No, we
or?
got some like very nice. We kind of had cold weather come in and we're like all ready to hunker down, and then we got warm weather, and we've been outside doing some deck
Mm.
renovation stuff and things, and so that's been occupying our time. But yeah, I keep forgetting about Star Trek Catan, which would be a fun kind of spin on the game. I know it's for our kids even who would, even without zero knowledge of Star Trek, just they like the Catan kind of style of gameplay, and we'll go back to it. But I could see something like this being a fun, like just
Yeah.
different skin on a similar game, obviously, for them to enjoy. So, but at
Yeah,
any
we're
rate,
we're entering birthday season here
mm-hmm.
between my son and myself, and I think board games are one of the things that is often on the list. So we'll see if there are some new acquisitions that we can talk about in the next few episodes.
Sweet. And maybe next time we'll have to talk a little bit about, we'll have time before any sort of Halloween themed gaming, and I guess Castlevania would kind of fit into that, but gaming and tabletop gaming and stuff that we might be dipping our toes into as well. That's the second time I've said that phrase, so I've got to stop using that one.
We'll circle back,
Yeah.
table that for now,
download it to the
and
next
other
episode.
meeting things as well. Well, yeah, I think that kind of covers everything we wanted to talk about with our Four Corners today. Do you have anything else, Chris?
No, I think that's good. So thank you for listening to 25 Cents, our video game podcast. You can find me on Twitter at iChris.
And you can find me on Twitter and most everywhere else as Ultra Nerd. That's NURD.
And you can find 25 Cents wherever you listen to podcasts. And be sure to check out the Good Stuff Patreon, patreon.com/goodstuff. Join us in the Discord there after you sign up, and for more chatter about all the podcasts on Good Stuff. And check out Click and Flick. No, Flick and Click. Click and Flick. I just saw a preview of their Halloween episode. They actually got costumed up, so I'm looking forward to seeing the video of them recording.
Oh, yeah, I haven't been watching that on video.
Yeah.
I've just been listening.
Yeah,
I'll have to check out the video.
It's going to be fun, I think. So looking forward to see how they do that. So anyways, thanks for listening. Have a great day. Bye.
Bye.